everyone. On this episode of Virtual GM, Cody and I visit with Rich Viola, who is the founder and president of BITAC Events. We've talked about these events before on our podcast. We talk about things that hoteliers are doing right, things that can be improved, and the hospitality ecosystem and economy at large. This is definitely one that you don't want to miss. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Virtual GM brought to you by Vibrant Management. My name's Spencer, and along with me is my host, Cody Adent. We're excited to be with you for another episode. Is this episode 25? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Episode 25 of the Virtual GM. Yeah. And we are joined with...
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Episode 25. You've heard him already. We are here with our guest, Rich Viola. Rich is the president and founder of BITAC Events. You can check that out at bitacevents.net. Is that .com?
You're right. .net.
Right. BITAC Events, yes. BITAC, BITACevents.net. So we'll be speaking with him today. Cody and I have spoken about that event we went to last year, probably 4 or 5 times on this podcast already. So if you followed the podcast, you know that we went to this conference last year, just received an absurd amount of value from this podcast, or excuse me, from this event. And so we wanted to ask Rich to come on. He's actually our first guest. So Rich, congratulations.
Yeah.
You are the first guest on the Virtual GM podcast.
I'm totally honored.
You know what's cool too is that's our 25th episode. So it's like very fitting. It's like a special one,
true.
You know, we're a quarter way to a century. So
totally
perfect time to have Rich on.
Absolutely.
Great.
So every episode we get started with a segue. We've been doing this for a while now. If you're new to the show, we talk about one thing that's good that's happened in our personal life, one thing that's good that's happened in our business life, and all of this is from Entrepreneurial Operating Systems, which is how we structure our business. Before we get started, shout out Sean Cannell and Think Media. I will go ahead and kick this one off. So I'll start with business. We had a really amazing week this week. We actually just started kind of a hybrid work model where we're starting like a bookend work. So Mondays and Thursdays we're in the office, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays we're working remote. And it was actually the first week that we did it, and we just decided to do it on Monday. We instituted it, and I felt like it was far more productive.
I got more done on Tuesday than I ever have because
Same.
I was just diligently focused without any interruptions.
I had more time to take more meaningful meetings, which transitioned into a big work session with Leah where we just cranked through a ton of ads. That really was a great thing. And it's always like the model that I've looked for, something hybrid, because you keep the culture, but then you get the flexibility and the freedom to work from home. And then personal, I just signed a new house. So I'm moving.
Wow.
Yeah. Really excited. I'm moving to downtown St. George. It's a good cost saver for me. I actually talked about this on a previous episode.
Yeah, that's right.
Set the goal, accomplish the goal.
It's
great. A
great.
cute little 2-bedroom house in historic St. George. It's got like this white picket fence outside. It's got a green, beautiful lawn, dog door for snow. So I'm really excited about that. It's an 8-minute walk to work. It's an 8-minute walk to my girlfriend. It's perfect.
That's great.
It's the best setup I could ask for. So that's my segue this week.
Okay, well, so for me, for business, we just signed a really exciting new client. So we are in the process of starting all the branding and development for what will be a 4-star luxury resort in Montana. So we don't have any properties in Montana yet, somewhere we always wanted to be. And now we get the opportunity.
Oh, that's officially done.
Yeah, yep.
When did that happen?
Last week. We were at the HD
Oh, sweet.
Expo in
I didn't know
Vegas,
it was signed. That's great.
Well, we just have to sign it to him because
verbal confirmation.
Yeah,
got it. That's great.
He went to Europe, so I'll sign it when he gets back.
Sweet.
But really exciting. So it's going to be a 4-star luxury resort. Our hope is to be able to potentially get into the Curio program. We've already reached out to Hilton, started that conversation. So they've got to do all their due diligence to make sure that community can support it. But if not, we'll go independent. So either way, it'll either be an independent property or a part of the Curio collection. It'll be a 4-star resort with a casino, which is super exciting.
So
and then
cool.
An amazing restaurant.
We'll
bar
have to go to the
situation.
BITAC casino event.
Yeah,
now.
we'll be able to do that now.
Wow.
So
Man,
that's
I've
exciting.
always wondered, like, that's just like the Vegas professionals. Now we can actually have reason to go to that. That's so
And
great.
it's in Vegas always, isn't it, Rich, that one?
It is. It's at the Red Rock a month from now. Red Rock Resort, which is right off the strip, right outside the strip. It's a Station Casinos property. It's it's like a little city complex. It has a full bowling alley. It has a movie complex. And it's just a really, where all the locals go. Much.
I love Red Rock.
that resort's publicly traded.
That is,
it's a cool place.
That's one of my favorite resorts to take my family because, as Rich mentioned, they have the bowling alley and they've got Yard House, which I love, and they've got the movie theater, and their pool's amazing. Red Rock is absolutely one of my favorite places to go. Their rooms are great. They do an amazing job.
What a great business win.
Yeah, very exciting.
Huge.
So that's huge. So that will be a multi-year process to get that up and going. But to be able to be in Montana, to get into the casino space, to potentially do another curio, super exciting. And then for personal, I had a really good friend of mine in town last week, Rio, who lives in Wyoming.
The man.
So I don't get to see him a lot, but he came in town. He was a guest on my podcast, Winning the Moment, and then we were able to play golf at Copper Rock.
Is he good?
Normally, yes, but he played terrible. he had come down on a golf trip. It's why he was here. So he had played like 8 rounds of golf. This was his last round.
Cool.
And he was just absolutely horrid.
He'd just been beat.
Yeah, we played from the pro tips, which I'm not a very good golfer, so I don't play that far back. I never have. In fact, there was one hole that it was 280 yards before you got to the fairway.
Oh my gosh.
And so needless to say,
pass.
Needless to say, I did not make the fairway on that particular hole, but I did shoot a 90, which playing from there for me was like incredible. So that was really fun. So now we'll kick it over to you, Rich. One business best and one personal best.
So business best, as far as BITAC, and thank you so much, gentlemen, for having me on this podcast.
It's an honor.
Honored. You guys are great guys, and I love the fact that that you thought of me for this. But from a business perspective with BITAC, it's all about relationships. It's all about connecting people and making things happen. So it was really cool this week that a couple clients were pushing on me and said, "Rich, you need to do another BITAC." I said, "Yeah, I need to do another BITAC."
We got a LinkedIn message about this.
Yeah.
You did already. Yeah. So
We're not spilling the beans though. What's that? Yeah.
Management.
Yeah. We're not going to spill the beans on it though. I heard it's under wraps is the rumor.
Nah, it's all good. There's no such thing as secrets anymore.
There we go. I like
that. No such thing as secrets anymore. That's a good quote.
That's true. Yeah.
So basically this, the whole idea just came together this week. And already we've had, probably about 27 people, which made us seem like a lot, but the right people saying, count me in, which will be February next year. So we really like that. We're excited about this. And I guess we don't have a choice. We're going to have to go forward and do this.
Well, that's a great one for us.
Yeah. Nick messaged us about that
on either end of the
on
table.
LinkedIn. And he was like, this is going to be a great conference. Spoke to Rich about it, pitched him on this new idea. And it really seems like it's something that's right up our alley.
Yeah. You said revenue and marketing, right?
Revenue, sales, and marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's what people in the independent space need. Those are the pillars that they really need support with.
Totally. Yep.
Well, absolutely. So, and again, it's going to be a lot of fun. And what I really like is, and count on you guys too, we love for people to push on us for content and the right things to get there. So it's really productive for everybody. We want to make sure it's 2.5 days, of time well worth spent.
Have you planned where it's going to be?
Yeah, we already, let's just say I can't totally divulge it because the ink is not dry yet. But it's going to be at a Ritz-Carlton in Florida.
Sign me up.
We're there, Rich.
Terrible location.
I love Florida and I love Ritz-Carltons.
Yeah. Kayla and I went on a boat ride.
Unfortunately, you guys are going to have to get out of the cold weather and bring your surfboards and your swim trunks.
Sign me up.
Deal. We're there, Rich. Done deal. There's 2 more, so you're 29 now.
I think it would be good too for us just to share for the audience listening our experience at BITAC, the first one that we went to.
Yeah, that's a great intro.
What was really cool is Spencer had just started. Like you were in like your
2
first
weeks
week.
in.
Yeah, 2 weeks in.
2 weeks in. And we were at the dwellings.
Yeah, we're at the dwellings doing like our annual
checking on the property.
Maintenance day, like tightening all the bolts, checking everything, doing all that good stuff. And Spencer's like, "Oh man, I just found this event. We're going to go to it in San Diego." And I was like, "We're not going to that, dude." He's like, "No, really, we are. It's going to be awesome." And I was like, "I don't think so." And I was like, I mean, if it's real, yeah, sure. If that's a real thing. And it turns out it was real. And it was absolutely incredible. And it was a challenge too for me because I had just had my birthday in Mexico. And so I flew from Mexico to San Diego the night before to be able to make it. And I was just blown away. Like all the speakers, the panels that they did, the keynotes, All of that was valuable. I love the way that they had us move around to the tables. Like they told you where you're sitting. So you were always like, you didn't just make those friendships and then just stick with those people throughout.
Yep. So what Cody's talking about is like, there was like a breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And Cody and I never sat together.
Yeah.
And you never sat with the same people either. So you'd go sit down and have like real conversations.
And the food was top notch.
Amazing. Really great food. And then we did like speed dating with different vendors.
Yeah.
And they were really great. So as far as a conference, and I've been to a lot of these in different capacities, but as far as a conference that was put on, especially for hospitality, this was top tier. And so now when we're going to this one in Florida, is Cornelia coming with us?
I don't know if she's going to that one or not, but I know that we reached out to her and said, you got to get to
yeah.
one of these.
We recommended to all of our properties now that this is an amazing, especially property owners.
And kudos to Rich too, because like when you had that speed dating, all the vendors were great. We ended up doing business with a couple of them after the fact, and they had like that awesome table in the middle with all the snacks, like because it's a lot, you know, it's an all day thing. It's a draining thing to do, but it's so important. And then we did that peanut butter and jelly thing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Rich? Because I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, well, I think it's, we come together as a community. People dedicate their time. What we like to do is give back. For whatever community we enter, we want to leave our mark, so to speak. So what we do is we get an agency that helps out the needy in the area, and we do this thing with peanut butter and jelly. We take 30 minutes, put people on teams, just have a little fun with it, and side by side, we see how many meals we can make in 30 minutes. It gets a little crazy sometimes.
Gets a little competitive.
Oh, yeah.
They steal some peanut butter and jelly. It's all, I know it's all the motivation.
I was stealing sandwiches from the team next to me. I think I stole 8 sandwiches.
Yeah, we even had someone eat a couple last time.
I may be guilty of that too.
So all fun aside, and then they distribute it, and all the time those meals are gone that evening. They distribute to people really in need.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went to that one like grocery store. That
I
guy,
do remember when there. I didn't know. I guess it would make sense they'd go that quick though.
Yeah.
And it's a fun little thing, and it's every event we do, we like to do this, and it's not only a feel good thing, but as we build our relationships and get to know people a little more, to do it side by side is something that hopefully everybody walks away and feeling good and takes it forward. We even had a couple people. I just want to add a couple people then because of that are motivated to get their themselves personally or people they know involved in their local agencies. I know there's not enough time in a day sometimes, but that's not a terrible thing either.
So Rich, maybe you can give us a history of your background in hospitality and how BITAC came to exist and its history and growth and how it got to where it is today.
Yeah, well, thanks. So this is kind of an interesting little story, and I appreciate the time, but I was in corporate America. I worked in big media companies. Times Mirror was one big. They owned Ski Magazine at the time, Golf Magazine. They owned, Sporting News, the LA Times, Denver Post, many newspapers, many magazines when newspapers were in their heyday. And I worked in advertising, mostly in that area. And then decided during a .com kind of gold rush, or then became .bomb quickly in 98, 99. Said, something, nothing's online with hospitality. So we started the first digital newsletter.
Oh, wow. What was that called?
Hotelinteractive.com, daily e-news.
Sweet.
Still do it today.
Wow.
And we're kind of make some changes there. Everybody who's listening to this, tune in back in hotelinteractive.com next month. We're going to have some amazing, really cool, engaging things going on there. But let's put that aside. Did this. I said, what can we do more than just an advertising kind of scenario? And we said, maybe we could go in different directions. And while we were covering different conferences, people said to us, hey, Rich, this trade show is amazing, but, didn't really, do what I needed to do. I said, why not? Well, for instance, it wasn't quality discussions. We didn't get the quality discussions. It was a blur. You shake someone's hand, you get a few business cards, you move on, which is great. I went to this one crazy dinner. I didn't know where to sit. I stood in the back of the room looking for a place to sit. I got enough courage, found the table, sat down, and there was a bag on the table, and they said, you can't sit here. So, like the meals you mentioned.
It was like terribly unorganized, and people were clicking. They're getting clicky.
That is how it is, though, and I think
totally true.
I don't mean to stop you mid sentence, but I really wanted to share this, and it's a good pivot. The thing that was so amazing to me that you guys did such a good job of is we already talked about the tables, like how you made it easy to sit with people because you were supposed to sit there. But then the networking events can be so awkward sometimes.
So awkward.
And you just do kind of stand on
Always.
the corner and like wait and hope someone comes up.
Remember,
And-
we skipped the networking event at Grow with Video because we're like,
Yeah.
this is just going to be weird.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think what was so cool about you, and one, we're in hospitality, so we're really fortunate. People are generally hospitable, so it is a little bit easier. But when we went to that event where you guys set up all the games, and then we got
that
like
was the
ribbons.
best.
So then you ended up on teams, and
Yep.
then so like you didn't have to like, it wasn't like you said, go find 10 people to be on a team with. You just did it for us. And so then we became a team, and then we were competing against other teams. So
Yeah.
then there was like the camaraderie you built within your team
Yeah.
and the playful banter against
Yeah,
the team.
totally.
And so it made it so easy to build relations. And we did that like that first night. And then so the networking night, the second night, you didn't need that because now you already had built all these relationships organically. And I've never been to a networking event where I had fun and I didn't feel awkward ever. So
Totally.
real kudos to you guys.
Yep.
That was like my biggest takeaway was like, wow, they finally figured out that pendulum of like, how do you make people interact in a
Totally.
natural, comfortable way?
And Cody and I finally fit in somewhere too because we're usually the loud, boisterous ones when we go to these things. So everyone else was the same speed as us, which was nice.
And what's amazing is I still have relationships from that conference, which
Craig
was May
Craig
of a
messaged
year
me this
ago.
week.
Yeah.
Nick messaged me this week. Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, if it wasn't for the BITAC team, my LinkedIn would get no likes.
I'm sure it would, but that's very kind. But that guys, that's really good. But it's that type of thing because at the end of the day, we're in the hospitality business. It's all about the relationships. It's all
totally.
about what we know, 100%. And what's the weird thing you said about networking events, how awkward it is. I call that a moment for all of us. I don't care what if you're an outgoing person, doesn't matter. Imagine when you want to, we've all been there.
Yeah.
When you want to approach somebody who's speaking to someone else, I call it, can I have your autograph syndrome? Where you're almost like approaching them, you interrupt the conversation. Sir, my name is,
right.
Rich.
Yeah.
Can I please speak to you? You're not saying it that way, but it's coming across that way. And it's just really weird. So we try to make it easy, like you said. Do it that way, but it's more than that. And I think you guys hit upon something really important. We try to make it not just an event, but more of like a cultural experience.
Totally.
That is so true.
That ring true for
And
sure.
that's really, easier said than done. But here's the best part. When we started doing this thing 2 decades ago, and I said, this was my background, all those things, and coming. Here's a little secret. Okay, here it is, divulging on your 25th podcast. Here it is. I didn't know one person in the hospitality industry 23 years ago. Zero.
Amazing.
And because of this industry, I went to all these events, and that's where I learned all these things about BITAC, come up with these things. But what happened is people are so friendly and so outgoing. People would go the opposite today. Say, oh, Rich knows everybody, which is totally, totally not true. But point is, it's because of the industry we're in. It's a very special industry for all of us. I feel like it's one big family. As big as it is, it's really pretty small, actually. So that's how BITAC got started. And really what I like the best about it is connecting people. And here's the other one last thing to say, is that about when people come to these things, the best part of it is we're all smart people. We all pride ourselves on how much knowledge we have and what we do on a daily basis. But the best part of it is to share and dedicate the time with a special group of people of different things we've experienced, whether it's a product or a service or experience within our business, and sharing that level just exponentially helps us all going forward with those relationships and everything that we do.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
What was the one that we went to in San Diego? Was that the independent one also?
No, we didn't go to the one in. They just had it. What was your last event? Just barely in San Diego.
We call it operations.
We went
That's
to
what it
operations.
was.
That's
Okay.
what it was.
So
I thought that's what it was. Right.
Is there anything that we can expect for the independent that we're going to in August? So it's August 6th through the 8th in Bonita Springs, Florida. What will be different about that, or what can we expect? Or other independent hotels that are contemplating attending an event like that?
Well, I think it's more about, not only meeting people, because listen, everybody's busy. Everybody has their what's going on. But the reality is most people go, these things are very smart people, but because we're doing a lot more with less resources today, less people, sometimes our budgets are tight, we lost our creative kind of inertia, our ability to sit back and come up with the thoughts that really take us forward. And what happens is, at this event, it's kind of like a think tank. We could kind of, or a retreat, kind of, you could reignite yourself in terms of maybe walk away with some thoughts that you didn't think about before.
I love
with a
that.
different
Totally.
perspective.
That's exactly what happened when we went to that event.
Yeah.
In fact, I was talking to a hotel owner near Nashville, Tennessee this week, and was just talking about different ideas. He owned a Comfort Inn that he's going to try and deflag and make independent, which I think is really cool. So if he's listening, Pete, what's up? He listens every week. But yeah, we had this really great conversation, and we just talked about different ideas. And what's really interesting about him is that the Hampton across the street really is just a Hampton. They get the Hilton pipeline, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, what can I do different? And exactly what Rich just said, people sit in the background and have just gotten used to the transient traffic and people filling rooms, but it's a totally different story today. And so we talked about investing in content and doing social media
experiences.
Yeah, because the Hampton across the street isn't doing it, but Quality Inn will let him do it, right? The Quality brand will at least.
Yeah.
And so that was a big idea for him. And his ideas were originally like, should I hand out like cookies or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the DoubleTree thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go steal
And
that.
those cookies are good.
Those are good. Yeah. So you got to have better cookies than them if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But you can play to like the staff. You can offer a unique experience. You can do something. I mean, you have so many sporting events. You have the Predators downtown. You have the Titans that are close by.
Broadway.
Broadway Street is a whole experience, right? Offer something for the honky tonks. Offer some type of length of stay package that encourages people. He's a 15-minute drive outside of Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like if you have a length of stay promo there, all the other hotels there, I've only ever stayed at the Opry there. But your choices are the Opry or
been.
everything else, right?
Yeah, I've never been.
Opry's like going to a city or a small town.
You have to walk through a rainforest to get to your room.
Yeah, I made a wrong turn and ended up in Alabama, I thought.
What was cool too about the BITAC audience is that everyone was so sociable. So like when the planned events ended, everyone went and socialized, and that's where we kind of got into that think tank stuff. And I remember, so obviously, Rich, you know that our podcast is called The Virtual GM, and the reason behind that is we figured out a way to operate these properties remotely, right? Using virtual GMs and AI.
What a great concept. I mean, when I first heard that, it blew me away.
Yeah, and that's really the conversations we had. I was talking to a hotelier from Atlanta, and he was like, hold on.
This is at BITAC, by the way.
Yeah, at BITAC. And he's like, wait a minute. Tell me again what you're doing. And I told him, and he couldn't believe it because obviously hoteliers know your biggest expense is your debt and your payroll, right? So if we can mitigate one of those, then you're going to be significantly more profitable. And he was just blown away by the concept. And so it was cool to be able to share that with these experts because he was like a massive developer in Atlanta. And so for us as like this really small group of individuals to have something that he could benefit from was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. You know, what you do is just amazing in my mind because there's so many GMs that spend so much time in their offices. You don't know if they exist. You think it's like Oz behind the curtain. You know, like, you know, really, the really good GMs get out, totally interact with guests, employees. But I found in many, many cases that's not the case. That they kind of stay in their office. So you don't know. So virtual, what's the difference if they're going to be there? It is a much better approach. And also the independent side, you know, to speak to independents, you know, what's different about this event? I love the fact that independent, especially what you guys do, because the brands do a fantastic job. They're able to allow you to do a lot of things. They got a lot of muscle behind it, a lot of resources.
Great consistency.
But what they lack is I think what's happening out there, everybody wants more of the experience.
Absolutely.
Especially after the pandemic. Everybody wants that experience. And now, as an independent property, you have more flexibility than a flag property to do these things and do them faster and do them more effectively.
Yeah, there's not guidelines for you. You have the ability to just do whatever you want. Not like
that's amazing.
Yeah, not like a courtyard or something, right? Like they have processes and procedures, red tape and paperwork. You can make up an idea and do it tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what's cool too is the people at BITAC were really offering solutions that made virtual GM possible. Because I can't remember the name of it, but there was the one AI system for messaging with guests, and then the smart locks, and then like a Duetto, who is the revenue management. Was great. And then even smoke detector.
The smoke detector thing was so cool.
That lets you know if someone's smoking in your room, and you don't have to physically be there because it's using technology to alert you, and then you can have a maintenance or a housekeeper person go.
What's the name of that company, Rich? Do you remember?
The smokeless one, fresh air sensors.
There we go. Fresh Air Sensors. We get asked
Shout
about-
out.
Yeah, shout
This
out Fresh Air.
episode is
Good
brought to you
people,
by
too.
Fresh
Real-
Air
as far as-
Sensors.
And Junk
What's
Hell.
really cool about it, these are really cool people too behind
Oh,
the
of
Fresh Air
course.
people.
Absolutely.
From New Hampshire, there's some amazing guys.
The Track My Shuttle guy was cool.
Yeah, he was great.
Remember him? Yeah. Remember him from the that party that we went to? That was
Yeah.
fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So Rich, I talked to you a little bit about this and you hinted it earlier. We're going to the independent property event in August. This podcast is geared for independent property owners to listen to. We're finding that like a lot of GMs are listening to this. We're getting reached out from properties in Alaska, from Missouri.
Aspirational hoteliers, people who want to get into the
Totally.
space.
Yeah. People who are trying to invest in properties. In fact, I was at a party with my girlfriend and someone came up and tapped me on the back of my shoulder and said, "Excuse me, are you the virtual GM?" And I could not believe that someone in my town had listened to our podcast.
Yeah, it's
I've
pretty
never met
amazing.
this person.
That's great.
So if you were going to, we talked about there's just no creative anymore. What problems do you see inside of the independent space that you feel like would be worth addressing, that you could put right out to an audience and say, if you were going to fix these things, if you owned an independent hotel, what would you fix and why?
As far as the approach, I think what happens is people who are independent think that's enough. Just because they're independent,
Yeah, you're totally right.
Certain things they do. But the biggest danger in any business is being complacent, right? You have a formula, you had success, during let's say pre-pandemic, and then you look at certain ways. But the reality is, think about this. I think you got to think of this as an inverse. If you think of just the bottom line, and of course we're all in it to make money,
Yeah,
no
sure,
question about
right.
it. But if you talk about little about what's my rate, what's my competition doing with rate, what are these things? I think it's not going to be a good outcome. But if you reverse the equation and really spend more time and really look at their surveying and speaking to people and getting out there and saying, what really works, what doesn't work. And I hate to say this, go to an independent property you think is cool, see what's a little different.
Yeah.
And sometimes we
Agreed.
get so close to what we're doing that we lose sight of what's happening. So my overall advice is, believe it or not, I'm sure what you're doing is wonderful, but it's changing by the minute. What the new normal is yesterday is not even close to what's happening tomorrow or today.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed.
I always say if you're going to be in hospitality, you got to experience hospitality. You got to get out
Totally.
and stay at different properties and see what they're doing. Because every time I go somewhere, there's some takeaway. Whether it's even just like the Waldorf, the Biltmore in Phoenix, their door hanger was amazing. It was like this
Yeah, that was
like
cool.
nice leather thing, and I was like, oh, that's different. I love that. Or you go somewhere and they have a great room book, or the way that they greet you. In fact, the Waldorf in Cabo at the Petrogol, they had all the staff come out and wave to you when you left, and I was like,
wow.
that was a cool touch, And so it's like,
just something as small as that.
yeah, absolutely.
They also drove you to the airport and walked you to the counter.
Yeah, that was amazing. So when I got
Wow.
dropped off at the airport,
Nice
they had an
touch.
employee
Right?
there who walked us all the way through to the security line and then said safe travels, So it's all those little things that make such a big difference, and you don't have to recreate the wheel because there's all these brilliant people out there doing brilliant things,
Right.
and you can go emulate what they're doing.
Completely.
Well, the other
agree.
thing is too that I've seen that hospitality used to say, even the independent resorts, we want you with all the comforts of home. No, that's not it. They want something totally different. They want something totally experience that they don't. They want to escape from home. They want to escape from the mundane and be excited. I was with someone who reached out to me today who has a really cool ice product. That what they do is this ice that is really like for the very high end resorts type thing, in all different shapes, and it has all different effects on it and stuff like this. At a bar scene, I thought that was pretty cool. That's one little thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
But it's
yeah,
things
absolutely.
like this. You're not going to get that at home. You're not going to have that, do that thing. So
No.
it's not what the comforts of home, which was the old hospitality philosophy. It's blown me away with something I don't experience every day and wow me, so I take it forward.
Well, another great example is Resorts World has a speakeasy in it. So I've gone to
Yeah.
Resorts World a bunch of times, and I've never been able to find the speakeasy. I've always wanted to go, I've never found it. So the last time I was like, Megan, we are finding the speakeasy and we're going to it. And so we ask, where's the speakeasy? And they're purposely vague. They're like, oh, it's somewhere in the food court. So you go to the food court, you walk around forever.
The
You're like,
food court's huge.
yeah, you're like, I can't find it. So you ask someone else, like, hey, I go to this bar, I say, hey, where's the speakeasy? He says,
Yeah.
you're close. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, find a grocery store. And I'm like, a grocery store? What are they talking about? So then I finally find it. There's this restaurant that has like a little grocery area in it. And so I go up and I'm like, is am I here? And they're like, do you want a drink? And I was like, yes, I want a drink. And like, are you willing to buy one drink per person? And I was like, yes, I am. And they're like, follow me. And they take you back. And there's this amazing speakeasy built behind this restaurant. And the vibe in there is so cool. And you pay a little bit more for your drinks. And I didn't care because it was so
Was it busy
cool.
back there?
Oh, yeah, packed.
Oh, wow.
Like it was so cool.
Yeah.
And so it's something like that where if it was just a regular bar, it wouldn't have even went. But because there was like this game associated with it and like you had to know and to be there, it made it such a cool experience. And I was more than happy to go pay for a drink just because they built an experience into the process.
Totally.
And so I think things like that are what people are looking for. They want to experience something when they're traveling away.
Yep.
The other thing too, another key point is, I think you mentioned this before, that amazing experience of walking you to the counter.
Yeah.
Hey, the airport, doing this thing. So you could do technology, and what we could do technology is amazing. And I love all the new technologies going on, but somehow don't lose the personal touch in the process.
Absolutely.
With all the isolation going on, we are people, interactive people. We desire to interact with people. We'll just do it more effectively and more efficiently, but don't lose that aspect.
I think that's why our virtual GM thing works so well, is because they are people that they're connecting with, and they can say, where do you hike and what should I do and what restaurants should I go to and what's your favorite activity? And they're able to have all this dialogue. But then we also use text messaging apps too, because people are more comfortable to text, which is great, but they are texting a real person and you can tell by their response. But if they're just asking the Wi-Fi, it's fine for AI to give them that answer, right? So use technology to your benefit when it makes sense for you and the consumer, but certainly don't lose touch with that personal connection.
Yeah. So Rich, we just met with a property probably 3 weeks ago, and Cody will know what I'm talking about as soon as I bring it up. But they had a cleaning staff member that we were meeting with. Do you know what I'm talking about? And they were still filling out room cards by hand.
Yeah. They were doing all the door codes by hand.
All of it, like very meticulous things that was happening in the early 2000s.
No automation.
Absolutely no.
And that's back-end automation. So the guest doesn't even see that. So the guest has no idea whether a computer creates the door code or a person does. You know, all they care about is what their door code is. And more importantly, is their door code relevant to them?
Yep. And even on that note, on a previous podcast, we had talked about things that hoteliers do that they should change. And one of them was being complacent, right? So to have Rich on here
about that, right?
and echo that, right? Everything that's so big. So we talked about things that are not working. Rich, when you go stay at an independent property, what are some things that you're seeing that are working? Do you have some favorite hospitality experiences you could share with us?
Yeah, getting back to the personal touch is great. But what I think that, what I enjoy the most about, the independent properties, it feels more real. I don't know if that's a good word here.
No, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
More genuine.
Well, they know they have to build that connection because they don't have this conglomerate behind it funneling people to you.
Yep.
So they really have to deliver an amazing experience. Otherwise, they're not going to get those return guests.
Yep.
I think that what's happening is, I think that the real good people coming out of hospitality school want to work for those independent properties too. And whereas the other one, I think that almost the employees at a branded property say, I'm going to get in trouble by saying this. They're afraid to make a mistake.
That's the truth.
Yeah, that's true of the corporate world, right? Yeah. You have to be more cautious because there's more restrictions and more red tape to what you said earlier.
Yep.
I think there seems like a more genuine care of the guest. And also, I find that the biggest innovations I'm seeing in hospitality are coming from independent properties, and that's what I'm enjoying the most.
I think that's absolutely true.
Really good innovative things happening.
Yeah, so I have a couple more questions for you, Rich. One is, what's behind you on the wall there?
Oh, that's a gift from my children. I grew up, when I was a baseball fan, I grew up as a Yankee fan because I lived real close to Yankee Stadium in New York. Now, I don't follow like I once did.
Okay.
But the kids, it's one of the things say, what do I get, Dad? So it's basically a replica of a ticket to a World Series of all 27 World Series.
Oh, that is very
so cool. Wow.
And it's really cool.
That's
Don't
awesome.
ask me about the Yankees today because I can't help you.
So then my next two questions would be, and then we can let you go, but I'll ask them both.
I have one question after these two.
Okay, so three total.
3 total questions.
First one for me is, where's your favorite place to travel? Second one is, what's your favorite hotel you've ever stayed at?
Oh wow, these are really
They're going to get Rich in trouble.
yeah, this one right. I was gonna say I'm more concerned. I can't be political here, so
Yeah, right.
I gotta think, I gotta think hard on this one a little bit of what to say. The coolest experience I had was as far as Iceland, the ice hotel.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be
so
amazing.
cool. Wow.
That it was just incredible experience overall. In terms of traveling, this is going to seem really bizarre to you because we travel so much. It's kind of a cop out answer, but it's a sincere answer. To me, it's about the experience within that hotel because you could always find some really cool things to do wherever you are. And here it is, I'm going to get in trouble. It tends to be the independent resorts. I'll give you one example only. What I felt like, you familiar with the Terranea Resort?
No,
not.
where's that?
LA.
LA, okay.
All right, this is really cool. This used to be like a SeaWorld type property. Okay. And this is real close, 30 minutes out LA, LAX, and you think it's like a different world. Beautiful property where you could hike, go to the beach. The property's spread out, amazing views of this. Independent property. Okay, I'll give them a little kudos. It's a Coral Tree JC Resorts property.
Okay, yeah, I know Coral Tree.
I personally really enjoy that property.
That's awesome. I love that. I love hearing cool properties because then it makes me want to go check them out.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, last question for me. What do Cody and I have to do to speak at BITAC?
Ooh.
Well, I think by this podcast, I saw a different side. And this is what BITAC does and why it's important. We're running so fast, 100 miles an hour, all of us. What we try to do at BITAC is get that pause and get to know one another. You guys took it to another level today, so a whole different side. I think you guys would be amazing moderating a panel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we'd love that. That would be great.
You would kill it. You would absolutely crush it. And so consider it done. At Independent, you're going to moderate a panel.
Hey, look at that. Check that out.
Love it.
Come see us in Florida,
Bonita Springs.
January 6th to 8th at Bonita Springs. That's it for the podcast today. Rich, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We're so honored to have you as our first guest on our 25th episode. This was an amazing podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, really great for the listeners.
I think you guys killed it, and I tell you, I had way too much fun, so thank you.
Is there anything you want to leave the guests with before you jump off for today, Rich? Any parting messages you have?
No, just every day, be real, be open-minded. And I think that no matter how busy you are, a podcast like this, I was blown away. First time I heard it, I felt like I was having conversations with two best friends.
That's great. That's what we want. That's
Rich,
what we want to do.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. That's all the time for today. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to the podcast. Be sure to check out BITAC online, BITACevents.net. You can follow them on Instagram, BITAC_events. Follow us online. Check us out on our website, thevibrantteam.com. You can find all of our episodes there. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts from. Check us out on Instagram at the Virtual GM Podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's no the on there. At Virtual GM Podcast. Send me an email if you want to be a guest, if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you just have questions. Spencer at thevibrantteam.com or DM either Cody and I on LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone.